So today, we're going to talk about someone truly incredible, Fred Hampton. He was this brilliant, magnetic leader in the Black Panther Party who, at just 21 years old, was already making huge waves. He was killed in a hail of gunfire, and his story, well, it forces you to ask a question that's just as heavy today as it was back in 1969.
Right? Let's dig into that. How on earth does a young man who's dedicating his life to community programs, we're talking free breakfast for kids, end up getting labeled by the head of the FBI as the single greatest threat to the entire country? That contradiction, that's the whole story right there.
Okay, so to really get it, you gotta go back to the start. Hampton wasn't just some guy who fell into this. He was a prodigy, a natural-born leader who was making noise when he was still basically a kid.
I mean, the speed at which this guy developed was just wild. Think about it. At just 14 years old, he starts a youth chapter for the NAACP and gets 500 kids to join. 500! By 19, he's out on the front lines, leading protests to get the public pool in his hometown integrated. But, dealing with the police during those peaceful protests, that changed him. It pushed him. So by the time he was 20, he felt that moderate approach just wasn't cutting it. He joined the Black Panther Party to take a more revolutionary path.
And wow, once he joined the Panthers, his impact was immediate. It was huge. As the chairman of the Illinois chapter, he didn't just talk. He put his powerful vision into action. And this quote right here, it's pretty much the key to everything he believed. For Hampton, the goal wasn't just to swap out one boss for another. He saw the real enemy as the whole system, one that hurt poor people of all colors. So for him, the solution wasn't just fighting racism. It was building solidarity between everyone who was getting a raw deal. The answer to capitalism wasn't black capitalism. It was socialism, a totally different way of doing things, built on community and sticking together.
And he didn't just talk about it. He actually did it. He created something he called the Rainbow Coalition. And this wasn't just some nice-sounding name. He actively brought together the Black Panthers, the Latino group, the Young Lords, and even the Young Patriots, a group of poor white activists from the South. He got them to see that they were all fighting the same battles against poverty and police violence. You have to remember, this is 1960s Chicago, deeply segregated. What he was doing, it was unheard of, absolutely revolutionary.
And again, this wasn't just theory. The Panthers' motto was survival pending revolution, and Hampton made that real for people. He started a free breakfast program that fed hundreds of kids every single morning. He opened a free medical clinic for the community. He set up patrols to watch the police, and, get this, he even brokered peace treaties between rival street gangs. He was literally building a new kind of power, a community that could take care of itself.
But here's the thing. As Hampton got more successful, as his influence grew, so did the danger. His ability to bring people together, to build that kind of power, it put a massive target on his back from the very highest levels of government.
And this threat, it wasn't just some vague feeling. It was a real, official, secret program called COINTELPRO. Run by the FBI, its whole mission was to, and I'm quoting here, disrupt, destroy, and neutralize black movements. The director, J. Edgar Hoover, was obsessed with stopping what he called a black messiah from ever rising up. And in Fred Hampton, he was convinced he had found one.
So you've got this stark contrast, right? It's like two totally opposite plans for America. On one side, you have Fred Hampton and his Rainbow Coalition trying to unite people, and on the other, you have the FBI's COINTELPRO doing everything it can to tear those people apart, using informants and dirty tricks to destroy that unity from the inside.
And this whole conflict, it all came to a head in the most tragic way possible, in the early morning hours of December 4th, 1969. The government's mission to neutralize Fred Hampton was about to reach its brutal end.
The details of what happened next are just chilling. First, an FBI informant, a guy who had worked his way up to be Hampton's head of security, spiked his drink with a powerful sedative. Then, at 4:45 in the morning, a 14-man police team stormed the apartment. They just opened fire while everyone inside was asleep. Fred Hampton was shot and killed in his own bed, right next to his fiancée, who was 8 months pregnant at the time.
Now, the official story from the police, they claimed it was this intense, violent shootout. But the evidence, man, the evidence tells a completely different story. Look at this. The police fired almost 100 rounds into that apartment, and the Panthers? One. Just one shot. And it's believed that came from a Panther who was already dying from police gunfire. This wasn't a shootout. It was an ambush, an execution.
So they killed the man, but they couldn't kill the story. Not even close. In the aftermath, the truth of what really happened that night started to claw its way into the light.
Now get this. No official was ever convicted criminally for the killings. But the survivors and Hampton's family, they sued. And after a legal battle that lasted more than a decade, the federal, county, and city governments agreed to pay a settlement of $1.85 million. Now, that's not an admission of guilt on paper, but come on. That kind of money speaks volumes about what really happened.
And his influence, it is absolutely still felt today. The city of Chicago actually recognizes December 4th as Fred Hampton Day. His childhood home is now a historic landmark. And that Rainbow Coalition idea, it became a blueprint for others, even helping to elect Chicago's first black mayor. And his story's reaching a whole new generation through powerful films, making sure he's never forgotten.
Which brings us to probably his most famous quote. And it really just says it all. It's this powerful idea that a movement, the fight for justice, it's bigger than any one person. You can silence the messenger, but you can't kill the message.
And that really brings us full circle. Fred Hampton was only 21 when he was killed. And when you look at what he was fighting for, an end to police violence, economic justice, unity across racial lines, you have to ask yourself, more than 50 years later, how much of his unfinished revolution are we still fighting for today?